All right, I'm Ryan. Today we're talking about disaster preparedness, specifically what providers need to know, provider being you, if you go to respond to a disaster situation in either a domestic or a foreign country, or either a natural disaster or economic strife or political tensions and, coups. So, audience participation. Dr. Pola, do you know where this is? I'll give you a big hint. There's a super dome structure in the background. New Orleans, very good. Do you know what happened in New Orleans?
Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras, very good. What happened in 2005 specifically? Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina was a Category 3 hurricane that initially didn't overwhelm the city, but the levee broke and caused about 80% flooding of New Orleans. The storm surge was really the big problem that happened here. There were 1,836 people that died, overwhelmed a lot of the city's infrastructure, and specifically a lot of their healthcare institutes. There's a good documentary, or whether it's Apple TV or Hulu or one of the other ones. It's 7 Days Memorial. It's a documentary about the events that occurred at their hospital, specifically for providing care to patients when they lost electricity, when they lost fresh water, and they had to evacuate all the patients. And there was, on the 7th floor, and I'm kind of giving away the documentary now, there was a long carrier facility, and they had to transport all those patients that were living there to the roof of the hospital to be evac'd by helicopters. And there were some questionable ethical dilemmas that went on, and you'll have to watch the show for the rest. All right, this one's a hard one. Dr. Solger, do you know where this is?
Give me region.
Southeast Asia. Sorry, South Asia.
Indonesia.
It's close to Indonesia.
Indonesia. Is this Malaysia or the Philippines?
Thailand. I don't know. My geography is not that good. This is Burma. This is Burma, home of the Burmese python, or Myanmar, as some people know it. Does anyone know what happened to Myanmar in 2008? Tsunami? Not quite. Not quite. There's a cyclone. Cyclone Nargis in 2008 devastated the island. It caused 140,000 fatalities and affected 2.4 million people due to flooding and widespread blowing of things over. All right, this would be kind of the pinnacle of our topic. Does anyone know where this is? Brazil, not quite. Not quite. It's an island nation, close to our hearts here in Kings County. Who said Port-au-Prince? How did you say it? Very good. I didn't know that's what it was called, but yes, this is Haiti. This is the capital of Haiti, Port-au-Prince, or Port-au-Prince, as we call it. This is the capital of Haiti. Does anyone know what happened in Haiti in 2010? Not a hurricane. Earthquake, very good. Does anyone know how large the earthquake was? It was actually a 7, which for the grand scheme of things isn't the biggest earthquake ever, but this was one of the largest disasters from an earthquake, according to some website that I looked at listed out natural disasters. But as you can see, if their infrastructure is like this, they're very prone to having bad things happen if an earthquake strikes. And this is kind of what you would expect. So 2010 Haiti earthquake, death toll between 220K and 320,000 people. The epicenter was right off of the coast of Port-au-Prince, which is the capital, caused massive destruction due to the construction, massive destruction due to the construction of Port-au-Prince, which they just stacked buildings on top of each other. They didn't really have building inspectors or very few of them. So as you could see, people need to live and they just keep building and building, and it's not really up to code for earthquakes. All right, so let's talk about what needs to happen in these situations. Obviously, if you have earthquakes that cause this, you're going to lose a lot of your infrastructure. You're going to not have clean water. You're not going to have ability for medical services to get in. You're not going to have hospitals. So relief organizations exist so they can come into areas of natural disaster and, provide healthcare. One of the largest organizations is Dr. Sklar. Thank you. Or as us stupid Americans know it, Doctors Without Borders. Doctors Without Borders was founded in 1971. This is a French NGO, provides humanitarian medical aid. 2019, they were active in 70 countries, had an annual budget of $2.6 billion. They are not influenced by political, economic, or religious institutions they maintain on their website. They get most of their funding from public institutions and private donations. Their mission statement is to provide high quality, impartial care and to act always in the best interests of patients, regardless of race, religion, or political affiliations. They have a democratic governmental process through their organization. There are 24 MSF sections worldwide. Each is governed by an association made up of current and former MSF staff members who elect a board of directors. They define strategic direction and hold the section accountable for its work. Excuse me. There's many other relief organizations throughout the world, the biggest one being the WHO. They focus a little bit more on public health and global equity of care. Some of the other humanitarian response organizations are International Medical Corps, International Red Cross, an organization called Direct Relief, who also provides medical relief in the domestic United States, and UNICEF, who we've all heard of. All right, so let's say Dr. Gonzalez, you're joining MSF. There was an 8.0 earthquake off the coast of Port-au-Prince 4 days ago. You are being deployed there to provide medical relief, and you leave in 2 days. What's your first question? What's the first thing you need to do? Okay, those are all great questions. We help you out. Your first question is, how do I get there? Yeah, so hopefully MSF will help you out with that one. And then it's going to be a little bit easier getting there because we have all our, airports and boats and we can get right in. Your second question you should ask is, how do I get out? Because as you can see with this is not a good time to be there. In 2010, the only airport in Haiti, the runway was actually kind of caved in or caved up by the earthquake. So they didn't have an operating airport. So the only way to get in to Port-au-Prince was to take an 8-hour car or bus ride from the DR. So as you can imagine, coming from New York, pretty easy to get to the DR. People go on vacation all the time. So you get to the DR, then you have to take, X amount of transportation to get to Port-au-Prince. But then after 4 days, you have to get back. So that's going to be a little bit harder. You're going to have food for the whole time. You're going to have water. And then you're going to have to organize transport to get back on that 8 hours. You'll know what that 8 hours is going to look like and how long it's actually going to be. And then you're going to have to get to the airport at the DR with people being removed from their homes. Are they trying to, leave the country as well? Is the airport going to be inundated with refugees trying to leave? What's your trip back actually going to look like? Are you going to have to take a plane to somewhere else and then go to New York? How many days is it actually going to take? So if you're going to a place to provide humanitarian relief, you should have an exit strategy right away. It's especially important if there's economic strife after a natural disaster, maybe there's roving gangs, maybe there's political unrest, and you have to bug out. So you should have, you know, a plan, a backup plan to get yourself out safely right before you go. All right, and then all your other questions were great too. What do I bring? How do I prepare? All that stuff.
What immunizations do you?
I'm getting there. All right. Thank you, Dr. Silverberg. So before you go, one of the big things, even before, you know, you're leaving, like you have a few days, Jorge, but preferably if you're traveling, this applies to you too. You have, you know, weeks and months ahead of time. If you're going to Vietnam, for say, you should look into yellow fever and Japanese encephalitis, and maybe even malaria. But you should have all of the immunizations that are going to be necessary if you're going to provide relief to like Haiti, who after an earthquake might not have clean water. So your cholera is going to come into play, your typhoid is going to come into play. And you need to think about these ahead of time, because if you go to Haiti, you're not going to get the vaccines there, and they're not going to be effective really anyway. So the CDC has a good website in general. Well, they used to. It's changing a little bit now. But the yellow book, it lists out travel recommendations for specific areas to where you're going and what to bring, what to think about, what to have for vaccination schedule. Does anyone know what Japanese encephalitis is? It's a mosquito-borne illness that causes encephalitis. I got that one. It's a live vaccine. What's that?
Said, but where?
But where? Apparently Southeast Asia. Yeah. It's just oral pills because it's a live vaccine, but never heard of it. All right. So what are you going to bring? Pretty much everything here. So water, I was talking to Dr. Palladino. He kind of skimps on the water. He always carries 1 liter on his back. I've read that you're going to need 2 a day, 2 liters a day to survive and 4 to thrive. So we're going to talk about this a little more for water procurement. But just keep in mind, if you're going to Haiti after an earthquake, fresh water is going to be scarce. Food. Food, you're going to bring small things that are lightweight, high calorie, high protein. And you're not going to have a whole bag of, you know, ready to eat meals. So you're going to have to, you know, shrink that down and ration as well. So for example, our 8-hour bus ride back to the DR, maybe we try to save our granola bars for that trip and ration those out. So if you're going with an MSF and they're providing you with food, take advantage of that, but always have a backup plan for if something goes wrong and you need to eat, then you have high calorie, high protein nutrition with you. Does anyone know what MREs are? Meals ready to eat. Dr. Solger, correct me if I'm wrong, were they made in the Vietnam War?
I think that's when they started.
Yeah,
they
this-
like cans, but now we get like cheese spread.
Yeah.
So there's that one like spaghetti and noodles.
They sell them at your local Army Navy, which I don't know where it is around here, but they have like a exothermic reaction through water and chemicals, and that heats up like a hot meal, and it's pretty nutritious. But then they also have, you know, crackers and cheese spread, and I actually bring those out a lot when I'm hiking. They're just easy.
The acronym also means meals refusing to excrete because they have to.
Never heard that one. All right. Moving on. So clothes. I will say this all the time if you ever go hiking with me, but cotton kills. Please do not wear cotton. Cotton does not wick. If it gets wet or you sweat into it, and then you're going to elevation, you will get cold. You'll be more prone to hypothermia and more prone to dying. So please just don't wear cotton. If you have synthetic materials, those are best. If you're going to provide medical relief, I would feel comfortable with having, you know, 1 to 2 changes of clothes. You're not going to bring your whole outfits for vacation.
If you're going to a place like Haiti, I'd recommend impregnating clothing to do with DEET. You can make it yourself and just spray it on.
Yeah.
And it'll work for a couple days at least, if not longer than that.
Or I like permethrin. You can inundate it into the clothes, you spray it ahead of time, let it rest for 6 days.
That's right.
It is toxic to cats, so if you have cats, then you need to think about that. Also clothes. Look up the weather to where you're going beforehand. If you're going somewhere to provide relief for a mudslide, it's probably rainy season there, so bring a rain jacket. If you're going to, I don't know, Argentina to go hiking, it gets cold there, so bring a jacket. Basic stuff. All right, next one's fire, because I'm interested. Show of hands, who knows how to make a fire? It doesn't. That's more than I thought. That's pretty good. So next time you go outside, ask, someone how to make a fire. They'll show you. I don't know. You have to bring that stuff with you though. The most reliable is going to be a pocket knife and a piece of flint. Know how to procure your own tinder. I know, just saying that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of folks, but yeah. This lecture isn't on how to make fire, and the sticks rubbing together, if you've never done it before, it's not going to work when you go somewhere. Shelter. So this kind of in line with fire. If you don't know how to do it, this isn't somewhere you go and it's going to be automatic for you. So maybe know that stuff ahead of time. Bring your 10 by 10 tarp, bring some 550 cord. Just be prepared to have to make your own shelter if you're in, someplace with not a lot of resources left. Lighting, like we've mentioned multiple times, the infrastructure of these places is probably going to be offline. So have your backup, have a headlamp, have your flashlights. Flashlights unfortunately rely on batteries, which are heavy. So that'll be a sticky situation. And then big note on medications, your own medications. Bring your own medications, bring extra of them, put them in 2 different places. That way, if you lose one, then hopefully you still have the other one. You don't want to be in a place without your own medications. All right, what to pack? This is gonna vary person to person. My big point on this one is know what's in your bag and know where it is and know how to use it. All right, don't bring a Sager splint if you've never used a Sager splint before. It just won't help you. So big things in like backcountry and going to provide leaf, a lot of your things are going to be MSK injuries, minor sprains, minor cuts, ankle injuries. So Tylenol, ibuprofen, aspirin, those are the big ones. Minor burns, poison ivy I run into a lot. So Benadryl cream, I know we don't like Benadryl, but maybe cetirizine. I carry an EpiPen and just gauze, basic SAM splints, stuff like that. What else do I have on the slide here? Yeah, iodine if you're gonna clean stuff. And then I always bring Pepto-Bismol. If that doesn't work after a few days, I switch to Imodium. If that doesn't work, you probably have E. coli, and I'll take some Cipro. So I would carry those with you. That's just a traveling trick. All right, let's talk about water purification. There's a few different methods. I have a favorite one. Some other people have their favorite ones. There's different pros and cons to each. So all the way to the left here is going to be our most reliable method, but it's going to be our hardest one. It's going to be a rolling boil. All right, your rolling boil is going to neutralize all microbes, viruses, your plasmodium, and your bacteria. It just has to be at a rolling boil, and then it's pretty much good. If you're over 8,000 feet, it has to be a rolling boil for over a minute, and then it's going to sterilize. Cons to this one, back to the fire. You have to have a heat source. If you don't have, propane or a heat source, then you have to know how to make a fire. Second con is you're going to have hot water at the end, which kind of stinks. Besides that, this is a pretty reliable method. In the middle here, you have your chemicals. So this is iodine tablets. You can also use chlorine tablets. The pro to this is these are pretty light. They fit in your bag and they're pretty easy to use. You just drop it in your water, shake it up. There's a amount of time you have to wait and then it sterilizes your water. Cons here are pretty bad taste. And if you have thyroid disorders, you probably shouldn't be using iodine. Besides that, a lot of people use these. I don't like them. Bottom right here is going to be UV. So UV radiation is expensive, but it actually cleans your water pretty well. It kills most bacteria. And actually, Dr. Madani sent me an article that it kills Cryptosporidium and Giardia, which are your two major ones that you don't want to get. There's a contact time. Cons are it's expensive and it requires batteries again. And you have to carry around that water bottle with you. But it is pretty reliable. Next method, my favorite is going to be filtration. So your top left is going to be the Sawyer straw. Your top right is going to be the gravity filtration system. Pros to the straw, it's a straw you can just drink right from the stream. You can hook it to your water bottle. Pretty lightweight, easy to use. They filter out most of your things. The gravity one, obviously it's bigger, it's kind of cumbersome, but it will provide water for a lot of people. My personal favorite is going to be your Katahdin water filter. This is a multi-stage filter, has a 0.1 micron filter, removes bacteria, protozoa, and sediment. So all the other, besides filtration, so your chemicals, your rolling boil, and your UV are not going to remove sediment. So they're going to be not as effective if you have a big ball of dirt with bacteria in it. UV is not really going to penetrate through that. So I like the filter personally. I've put this in tepid water at the top of a mountain and drank it, and I didn't die. So kind of says a little bit about this one. What could go wrong? I didn't have any other option. So what could go wrong is I would be thirsty for the rest of the night. But these are pretty lightweight, very reliable, and they remove everything except for viruses. All right, so now we're back. We made it because we had our plan right from the get-go. So another plug for do your exit ahead of time. Debrief after these. Talk to people who were there. You know, these are mentally exhausting, they're physically exhausting. So talk to people that went through it as well, but also if you need to talk about people who are professionals, talk with people who are professionals, because these are stressful times and you might need to debrief with someone outside of what happened. All right, you might see death, might see misery, you probably will see destruction. These are all bad things. They play a toll on us. And thank you to Dr. Willis, Dr. Madani, Dr. Palladino, help with presentation and insight. And last thing, if you're going out on these, try to be physically fit. I know the meme was meant to be funny, but these are strenuous. And I'm probably gonna be huffing up the hill when we go to Colorado. But you know, do a few squats before you go. It'll go a long way. Thanks, guys.